Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Christopher Hahn, Assistant Professor of Piano at the University of Montana. Welcome to the President's Lecture Series. Throughout each school year, the university brings noted scholars and professors, authors and artists to our campus, enriching our students and our community. This is a wonderful opportunity provided by the university through the generous support of President George Dennison and the University of Montana. Let us show our appreciation. To bring artists such as Dr. Michael Coonrod to the University of Montana is a demonstration of the importance of and commitment to the arts. Missoula is a rich community, vibrant with professional artists of all types, poets, authors, painters, and musicians, many of whom live here, and many have gone on to careers beyond our city. But as the saying goes, you can take the boy out of the city, but you can't take the city out of the boy. There is not a more suitable description for our esteemed guest artist tonight. Michael Coonrod is a Missoulian to the core. He has the Blackfoot River in his blood and the Bob Marshall Wilderness in his spirit. He attended Paxson Middle School, then Hellgate High School, and received his bachelor's degree in piano performance from the University of Montana, where he had the good fortune of studying with Lucien Hutt, a valuable and respected member of our musical community and a mentor for Michael, now 36 years later. Tonight, then, is indeed a special event in that we honor both an alumnus of the university and a former faculty member of the university. Speaking as a teacher myself, I cannot imagine a greater achievement than having your student return to perform at his alma mater as part of such an auspicious occasion. Michael's return trips to Missoula in recent years are highlighted with visits and getting reacquainted with Lucien. On a recent visit to Interlaken, I personally was thrilled to see photographs above Michael's desk, places that were familiar and personally meaningful spaces and faces. The main hall on the UM campus and Mr. Lucien Hutt. It made me smile to know that all the students that Michael has taught, encouraged, and inspired in that studio over his 30 years at that institution have looked upon those pictures with admiration and thanks. To have such an important teacher still in one's life is a rare opportunity to connect with the past and pay homage to what we do at the university, which is transform lives forever. As a performing pianist, Dr. Michael Coonrod has been invited to perform throughout the US and in Europe. A professional highlight for him was to play an all-American 20th century music recital by invitation at the Chopin Academy of Music in Warsaw in 1994. Teaching holds a very special place with Michael as well. He is piano faculty at the Interlaken Arts Academy for 33 years. Interlaken is an internationally recognized institution, a boarding school, for fine arts, and students come from around the world to study there. I asked Michael his current studio, and it is made up of students from Venezuela, Russia, Korea, Japan, China, Taiwan, Mexico, Turkmenistan, and the USA. Michael considers it a great honor to be able to guide young musicians towards artistic and technical competence, and to be directly responsible for the musical and personal development of these young musicians. Michael teaches piano, but also encourages students to experience other elements and other aspects of life, as this only serves to enrich their musical communication. As an Eagle Scout from his days at the Presbyterian Church here in Missoula, Michael grew up in the Bob Marshall and the Selway Wilderness areas. At Interlaken, he has developed an explorer post for both young men and women, serving as a principal advisor for their outdoor adventures. He takes the students camping in Michigan, building igloos, and is very active in community service activity. Michael balances his life with a wonderful marriage. His wife, Jean, whom he met here at the University of Montana as seniors. She was a cellist, he a pianist, and he has told me stories of he playing for her senior recital here in this very hall 36 years ago, which is special for anyone. He has 3 darling children whom he has a love for and an admiration for and a respect for that I find as a father truly deep and truly beautiful. The perfect introduction then to an artist's world is often found in the words of the artist themselves, and I quote, I believe composers appreciate that we are recreative artists, compelled to breathe life into their work, which includes mixing sound into textures and shades of nuance that makes our very art very personal. If we ponder the evolution of composition with the development of technique, combined with the mechanical precision and tone quality of the concert grand piano, we come to realize this is truly a symbiotic marvel of human ingenuity. Now, I ask you to warmly welcome back to the stage at the University of Montana, Dr. Michael Coonrod.
This warm welcome is overwhelming. I realize that I have been at Interlochen longer than I was growing up here, or a resident here when you get to be 33 years in an institution. But I still feel like I'm back home. My father was Dean of Liberal Arts and Sciences here from 1960 to 1969. It's quite a job. Tough job. Even as a young kid, I remember he helped to set salaries, hire people, fire people, tried to figure out who is worth recovering when students flunk out, but they really need to be here. It was a stressful position. I admire people who are in administration in that capacity. I was chair of the piano department for 12 years, but I really enjoy my colleague, Dr. Limenstall, and I, because we get along so well, we just do things when it needs to be done. We don't need a coordinator. My father was here until '69, as I said, and during that time, he developed an exchange program through Illinois State University. Dean Charles Boland was here, Dean of Fine Arts, for many years. And so when he went to Illinois, he and my father developed this program of exchange between the students. And my future wife came as part of that. So he inherited his daughter-in-law unknowingly. And he then went to the University of Idaho, where he was vice president and acting president for a while. And during that one year as president, he, this was after the Vietnam War, there was a demonstration going to be held on the lawn with the students. And he told me that he was most proud of how he possibly diffused a situation, because he brought in the student body president and asked what he could do to help. And so when they had the demonstration, Dad went down in the front oval area and sat down in the grass with everybody. So who knows what he had done, but he felt productive there. He and I wanted to do, well, I asked him to help me play a recital of Russian music. 30 years ago, in my late 20s, I have always wanted to play Russian music. In the meantime, I've been involved with Schubert and Bach and Mozart, other classic composers, more leader kind of composers. Russian music is more operatic oriented, very dramatic and gregarious and outgoing. I asked if he would come with me and talk for 15, 20 minutes about the political climate and the social environment during the 19th century. That never came to pass, and he died in 1996. But before that, he gave me several books to read on the subject. So I am dedicating this program to my father. I wish he was here to hear it. I have many friends here, and some of the older folks may have known my father. So I picked a program which is an anthology of very important composers, and I didn't want to do too much Rachmaninoff because he's known to so many people. I wanted to highlight a lesser-known composer, so I chose Nikolai Mjetner. At the time I was preparing this program, a former colleague at Interlochen is the world's expert on Mjetner, I feel. He just knows everything. That's all he talks about. And so he gave me many recordings from which to choose some repertoire. So I have 3 pieces of Mjetner for you. There's nothing real long. The sonata is only 10 minutes, both the sonatas. Most pieces are 5 minutes long. Glinka is the very important father of Russian music. Of course, there was music before the 18th century, but Glinka really infused the folk element into his music, well crafted in European models. So they call him the father, like they call Haydn the father of the string quartet. So with The Life of the Tsar in 1836, he put actual history of Russia into music. It started a trend, and composers really were proud of their nationalistic heritage. It wasn't in vogue at the time, but it came to be quite rampantly. Until 1840, opera singers and musicians came from Italy and France and Germany, because there wasn't so much education. There wasn't a music school in Russia. There were singers in Russia, but they weren't paid very much at all. Isn't that how it is so often? People who are from abroad have more attention, especially if they have an accent. So Anton Rubinstein was actually a student of John Field, an Irish pianist who's known for the nocturne. And he came over to Russia and spent a few years, and he taught a few people. And his music is a tame, but it's very influential on the nocturnal style. And I think that in the Glinka piece tonight, Glinka and Balak Arab have captured that in the piano writing. Well, I would like to tell you just briefly about the modes and scales in Russian music. The folk music is quite concise, condensed. I like to tell people that it's a perfect fourth or sometimes a sixth in range, which is pretty small. That's a very concise folk melody. Of course, this is a generalization, but I find this true, and enough to tell my students in piano literature class. And it's not my idea either, it's from my own reading. Also, there's a propensity for the minor dominant instead of the leading tone as we have. Tchaikovsky, let's see, he also goes to sub-dominant, kind of a lot of that. Let's see. Or the Romantic Sonata of Minher, which I'm not playing. Essentially, they like the natural form of the minor scale. Well, that's all I'm going to tell you about music, because this isn't a lecture. This is promoting the music, and I wanted to give you a few comments. And forgive me for saying some of the things in the program notes, but I know how it is so often. People arrive 3 minutes before concert time, and who can read the program in this dark light? So I'm going to get a glass of water and start. I need to speak to you now because after the Stravinsky, I'm going to be really out of breath. I tried that once, it doesn't work. So I briefly want to mention to you that there are two styles of writing in the late 19th century Russia. One was the importing of the European tradition of sonata form with motivic development. And the other was promoted by the five composers known as the Mighty Five. I call them the Mighty Mavericks, or in Russian it's Kuchka, a group of composers who were very proud of their national identity, and they didn't want to have anything to do with contrapuntal music or motivic development or sonata or Beethoven, anything. And so those are in your program, Mussorgsky and Borodin and Rimsky-Korsakov. Tchaikovsky was not embraced in that group of people, although he has lots of Russian sounds in his music, because he used both forms, used the Russian folk element with sonata form and development. What I want to mention tonight is that the Dumka is a very excellent example of the Mighty Maverick, even though Tchaikovsky is not a part of that. It uses one or two themes and repeats them over and over and over and just puts different clothes on them. God, I just thought about, these Barbie dolls. No, this cut. The girls had, when I was growing up, had these little paper doll things. You flip over the tabs. Is that too old? I'm really old. And so you take one clothes off and you put another one, but it's the same person. So the theme is the same, but it has different musical adornments. That's the best way I can describe it, that you can remember, but it's accurate. And Mietner was far and above the motivic style and carrying on the tradition. His favorite composer is Beethoven. He said he studied with Beethoven in spirit. But he also liked the music of Wagner, so it's very dense texture. So I thought, and also the mood goes well together, so the last two pieces go right to each other, but they're very different. understand there's a reception afterwards. I would love to answer questions you might have out there, personally, and people I may have known from years ago. If you're interested in recordings that I have out there, I've spent decades doing that, preparing. And I'd like to play the Schock's Graven Nocturne for the left hand alone.
Mm-hmm.